Hello and welcome to this retrospective look inside the 1983 Rentaghost Annual. I'm Retro Steve UK, and if you're anything like me, you'll remember the joy of receiving, usually at Christmas, these yearly books that were dedicated to the things that we love the most. Our favourite TV shows, movies, comics, and a myriad of other random subjects, anything from the Cub Scouts to cricket. This particular annual is, as far as I know, the only Rentaghost annual that was released, although there were a number of books and novels also made available during the run of the TV show between 1976 and 1984. In this video, we'll be taking a look through, page by page, at this little piece of Rentaghost history that I would have been chuffed to have received back in the 80s, and is now a curious, nostalgic insight into the forgotten history of one of our most beloved childhood TV shows. In addition to the main title and year of release, the front cover shows us a selection of characters from the show, plus a couple of simple ghost-themed graphics, as well as the BBC TV branding in the bottom right. Inside the cover we're welcomed with another ghostly image, which also informs us that this is the first Rentaghost annual, and there's also a space to write your name and, strangely, your address and phone number. And hats off to the bad pun swapping the word book with spook, which I guess if you're 9 years old and it's the early 80s, that probably would have been pretty funny. On the first two proper pages, we're treated to a picture of Timothy Claypole roller skating on the ceiling and the full contents of this 64-page annual, as well as the obligatory legal section and contributor credits. Pages 6 and 7 proudly display the signature tune, with music, lyrics, guitar chords, and some lesser-known alternative lyrics to the verses of the Rentaghost theme song. Pages 8 and 9 are a guide to running a successful Rentaghost business, handwritten in letter form by Mr. Meeker, and with occasional interjections from some of the other Rentaghost characters. Pages 10 to 17 give us an 8-page comic strip called Mr. Meeker's Mayday Misery. The Meekers are expecting a visit from ghostly royalty, so Mrs. Meeker is trying to mow the lawn to clear a landing path for the astral throne. Inevitable chaos ensues thanks to the muddling efforts of the Rentaghost gang, and Harold Meeker ends up being shrunk by an errant spell from Timothy Claypole. All ends well, however, as Mrs. Meeker is able to pass Harold off as a garden gnome just in time for the ghostly queen's arrival. Pages 18 and 19 feature a selection of puzzles and riddles, a crisscross word grid, and a reverse image riddle from Miss Popoff, which can be solved with the use of a mirror. The next 2 pages contain some astrology-related information about what star sign you are based on your date of birth, and which signs belong to which elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Pages 22 to 29 bring us another 8-page comic strip. This one is Div's Dirty Deeds, in which a ghost from the future with extremely powerful magic abilities travels through the Meekers' television to cause havoc. Even the combined efforts of Claypole, Popoff, and Hazel McWitch aren't enough to banish him. After a little magical research, however, they manage to trick the mischievous time traveller into saying his real name backwards, which sends him back where he came from. Page 30 gives us an overview of how a scene from one of Rentaghost's episodes was filmed, with character and camera positions detailed in diagram form. And page 31 is a list of cheeky household hints from Ethel Meeker, explaining how she keeps her husband happy whilst getting away with doing as little as possible, among other things. Pages 32 and 33 feature Claypole's Magic Teleboxes, a selection of stills from various episodes with captions underneath each one. I get a kind of Panini sticker album vibe from this feature, but without the sticker collection. Page 34 is Hazel's Crazy Maze, the combined puzzle maze and riddle in one. And page 35 sees the beginning of a 5-page short story called Showdown on the Ghost Train, which is accompanied by a handful of colourful pictures illustrating key moments. I'll let you pause the video and read it for yourself if you want to know what the story's about. On pages 40 and 41 we're treated to a selection of 6 magic tricks that we can perform using everyday household items like playing cards, matches, cotton reels, coins, and soap. Good times. Page 42 is a page of jokes entitled Jest'er Jest. This takes the form of a script of sorts, in which the Rentaghost characters are telling each other the jokes as part of a scripted conversation. Page 43 is called 1 + 2 = Magic Carpet. This is another of those technical explanations about how a particular scene was shot on camera. In this case, it's a scene where the characters are flying on a magic carpet. The methods used to create the composite shot are explained here using pictures and diagrams. The next 2 pages are meant to be laid out flat and played like a board game. Ghosts and Humans is a simple snakes and ladders type game. You'll need dice and something to use as counters, and the object of the game is to be the first player to reach the Rentaghost office to answer the ringing phone. I can imagine being excited about playing this with siblings on Christmas morning back in the early 80s. Pages 46 to 53 contain another 8-page comic strip. This one's called Troubled Chance. Mr. Meeker manages to win big money on the football pools, so he decides to close the Rentaghost business and move away. When the ghosts hear about this, they realise that they'll all be out of a job, so they set about trying to scupper the Meekers' good fortune with a series of bungled magical spells. Needless to say, their efforts fail, but in the end Mr. Meeker loses the money anyway in an auction by accidentally bidding on an expensive vase, which is then promptly smashed to pieces. On page 54 we have Ethel's crossword puzzle, with the clues listed on the next page, along with a simple word quiz and a bonus riddle. A collection of ghostly themed recipes are on pages 56 and 57. Hazel Bubbling Cauldron contains 4 simple recipes that you can make at home. It does include the all-important safety disclaimers, as this section is effectively encouraging children to use potentially dangerous kitchen equipment. Remember kids, always ask a grown-up for help. On page 58, Dobbin the pantomime horse gets his own section, and quite strangely, it's a fashion segment. I suppose it's because we occasionally saw him dressed up in various hats and costumes on the TV show. Dobbin, the equine Beau Brummel, gives us his best fashion tips for different social situations. In case you were wondering who Beau Brummel was, and I'll admit I had to look it up, he was an icon of British men's fashion in the 1800s. Page 59 puts us out of our misery with the solutions to the various puzzles that were scattered throughout the book. The last piece of content in the book is named appropriately, He Who Has the Last Laugh. It's another handwritten section which I found quite hard to read, but after persevering, I discovered it's a bit of a random rant from Timothy Claypole with a bit of rhyme here and there and a few attempts at humour. Bit of an anticlimax really, I thought. Turning to the inside back cover, we have pretty much the same image as we found at the front of the book, only this time bidding us farewell and finishing with the ghostly laughter that we all know so well from the end of the Rentaghost theme song. The spine is exactly as you would expect, with the title of the book being printed along it, plus a little picture of a vulture at the bottom end, which I presume is the logo of the publisher. The back cover is identical to the front, except for the addition of the International Standard Book number for reference. I asked my YouTube subscribers if they remembered this annual and if they had any thoughts to share for the video, but most of the replies were about the TV show itself. One person, however, Robert O. at Robert Alton, remembers reading one of the Rentaghost novels on the way to a school trip. I've since looked into these novels and it looks like there were at least 4 of these books available, in addition to the annual that we've just been looking at. So there it is, the one and only Rentaghost annual. I never had this originally, but I was lucky enough to get hold of this one quite recently. It is pretty rare, so if you're looking to buy one online, you can expect to pay in the region of 10 to 20 quid. Or if you're lucky enough, you might come across one in a charity shop or a used bookstore for less than that. If you are a Rentaghost fan, you might also enjoy my other videos about the TV show. One is a retrospective look back at the show itself, and the other is a music video of the full Rentaghost theme song, complete with on-screen lyrics, karaoke style. Links to those will be on screen at the end of this video. So if you have any thoughts to share about this Rentaghost annual, positive or negative, post them in the comments below and we can chat about it there. And if you'd like to be featured in a future Retrospectives video, follow me on my various social media platforms, where I'll be asking for comments whenever I'm working on something new. I also have a Buy Me a Coffee tip jar if you'd like to say thanks with a small gesture. All the links are in the description. So before we go, I'd like to thank everyone who's provided comments for my videos, to thank you for liking and subscribing, and of course to thank you all for watching Retrospectives.
Rentaghost, for a biography with ghost writers, I'm not forgetting a ghost script, an apparition quick from deep inside a crypt. Ring Rentaghost, an apparition quick from deep inside a crypt. Ring Rentaghost.